I have a pad. You don't have a bingo? Last week I got flack. I got a pad. It's a pad with Aristotle quotes that a former student gave me.
You have a pad with Aristotle quotes?
Of course you do.
That isn't. Now I
Student gave
wonder.
it to me.
Can you use pads that don't have Aristotle quotes, or do you need to write the quotes?
Can one theoretically?
No, not can one. Can you?
I
would imagine you find yourself incapable of writing until there's some
yet.
Aristotle down there somewhere.
All paid jobs absorb and degrade the mind. Aristotle, right? Deep. Right. I'm just saying. Do you have your bingo card?
Did Aristotle actually say that?
Actually, Aristotle said lots of things, but he didn't believe in writing. So somebody wrote this down after it doesn't really matter. It's on my pad. It's on my pad, Dave. It's on the pad. Do you have your bingo card?
You've got a real Ron Burgundy vibe going on, right? Like, I do feel like if we put something on the pad, he will just say it.
It's on the pad.
And this could be an upcoming game for the show, right?
What's on the pad?
No, just us, me in particular, putting stuff on the pad so that you read it there on air while being filmed.
That sounds like a terrible show.
I think it'd be pretty fun if I do it, right?
People of the pod, welcome to, I think it's the second episode, if we ever put it the first one, of the reboot of the reimagined Office Hours with Karpf and Loge.
We're back.
We're back. Did you miss us? And we have a live studio audience. We have people killing time before graduation with literally nothing better to do because it's raining out.
Not just that, an overflow live studio.
crowd.
Can we hear from the audience?
Overflow.
It's a lot of noise, right?
Jack,
right?
you're going to want to boost that in post if we could. It's been a week of weeks, a couple of weeks of weeks.
So when we talked 2 weeks ago, I think we had more hope.
We have more hope.
It's been a bad 2 weeks. I feel like if we do this every 2 weeks, that's going to be the running theme. Is even less hope now.
Even less hope. We have been talking about selling at the bottom. We're going to find the bottom. I'm determined this summer. It's on my to-do list for the summer. Find the bottom.
Related to, I wanted to ask to begin, scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you about Hantavirus right now?
Yeah, the idea that I'm sure there are protocols, but you took people from an enclosed space on a ship in the middle of the ocean and put them on planes and flew them all over the world, maybe seems like not the approach I would have taken. I don't know.
So look, I'm not a public health professional. What I would like to do on things like Hantavirus is just trust the professionals, because I know that I don't know what I'm talking about, and I just want somebody else to.
And how are you feeling about that with this
administration? That's the real challenge, right? Is like, I know that this administration fired all of the pandemic preparedness people on purpose and bragged about it.
Yes.
And now we have the people who fired all of the professionals going on air being like, yeah, we totally got this. Trust us.
I think, the Secretary of Health and Human Services is on the record as saying he snorted coke off toilet seats. And so he's fine. So I'm feeling good about this.
Yeah, all of this.
So we're not going with Hantavirus.
I'm just going to note, I don't know what number. By the way, you skipped the number. What's your number? Scale of 1 to 10. How nervous are you?
Like 11.
Okay, you're an 11. I'm like, I think at a 5 right now.
Oh, okay.
But only because I'm like, that seems bad. I don't understand it. And I can't trust anything they'll say. So it's possible 2 weeks from now that I'll be up to an 11. Or it's possible to be at a 3. I just have no way of knowing. Actually, I'm just low-key freaked out.
I'm not that concerned about Hantavirus. I'm sure there were, when people were taken off the ship and they were contained and quarantined. And I'm actually not super nervous about Hantavirus. Maybe I should be, but I'm not.
Okay, so what's your actual number if it's not 11?
Probably 3 or 4.
You're at a 3 or 4. I'm at a 5.
Yeah.
We can revisit this in the future.
Yeah.
Now, one theme that this brings up that I think we're going to talk about on all the stuff of the pod today is people want a government that just works and they want things to work fine.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a constant theme of anybody. There are regular listeners know, and it's Hibbing and Tice Morris, it's self-democracy. People just want stuff to work, and they want to know the people in charge. They assume people in charge are at some level corrupt, right? But they also want to be able to kick out the corrupt guys and know they aren't cheating too badly. Like that's like a base level of competence. And I'm not sure we're there. Or the people, I don't think the American people don't think we're there, certainly.
Yeah. I mean, it's like what stands out to me, I think this is kind of a theme of the 2020s, is there's a subset of the public that SMPAers are all a part of, by the way, and we certainly are, that like following politics and kind of can treat politics as like their reality TV. Like they will follow the hits and misses, the ins and outs. Like Donald Trump is giving a speech right now. He's answering questions right now. After this, I'm going to log on to Blue Sky and see all the clips of the silly things that he said. That's a subset of the public. The rest of the public doesn't find this entertaining and would just like shit to work. And that translates, like with Iran, they don't want to think a lot about Iran. They would just like the world not to blow up and gas not to keep on going up. Right. And when it comes to like pandemics, they would like there not to be them. And if they are, they would like professionals to handle stuff. Right. And maybe we get lucky and this goes away. But the fact, in the same way that like I'm real curious looking forward to the fall, whether our essentially lack of having FEMA at all is going to intersect with wildfires or hurricanes. Right. Because what people want is like, hey, government, just like when stuff goes wrong, you're supposed to be able to fix it. Right. And having a government that's fully incompetent carries risks, and then those risks play out.
Wait, so yes, and so I think there are a couple of things going on here, right? One is people want stuff to work. They want to trust the government. The government then has to do things that engender trust. Mm-hmm. And when things go badly, because they will, I'm not worried about Hantavirus, but I am worried about the next pandemic. There's going to be another pandemic. There's going to be really bad things. They'll spread really fast. The world is global. People move around a lot. We know this. This government dismantled all the organizations. They're not doing tabletop gaming exercises so far as I know. So that's bad. In addition, when things go sideways, it's going to require FEMA to step in. The government needs to then reinforce that FEMA are the good guys. I mean, you might remember after the flooding in North Carolina, members of FEMA were being shot at and threatened. Yeah. Right? Because bad actors in and out of government and pundits were saying you can't trust them. It's the deep state. They want to steal your soul, or I don't know, whatever it is they're going to do. We need a government that both people trust and that says you can trust basic officials. Mm-hmm. And this is an administration that wrote in on saying you can't trust anybody. We're the only ones you can trust. You can't trust the government, mm-hmm. which then leaves them in a really tight spot when they have to say, look, trust us. Yeah. It's really bad for people. Yeah. Like it's insanely bad. People die, communities get destroyed. Then politically, it's a train wreck. Because you can't say you can't trust anybody except us, but trust us, but things are going badly, somebody trust them. It's just politically, this is not good. I'm not feeling any better, Dave.
Yeah. And one thing I want to flag, and I want to make this a theme, I think, in our podcast.
I got a lot of themes. So I have to write things down.
You should write this down on your pad.
Yeah. My pad. Thank God we're not getting paid for this, because that would degrade the mind.
So the guy who I blame for this, if we go back far enough,
Who do you blame?
Zombie Reagan.
Thucydides? Oh, Zombie Reagan. Yeah. Zombie Reagan. Not the other Reagan? The real
Reagan when he was alive.
Was there a zombie Reagan?
I mean
should I be afraid of this now?
We don't have a FEMA or an HHS or CDC that is functional enough to prevent zombies, so maybe you should be worried. By the way, Dan Dresner has a post recently. He has a running theory that when times get bad, like really bad, you get more and more zombie shows. It's like an index of his, and he posted over the weekend that the zombie shares are growing up. It's a bad sign.
So actually, a friend of mine, I got a thing. A friend of mine.
I wanted to finish my thought.
No, it's come on. My best friend from college, a guy named Brett Dewey, used to own a company called wickedcoolstuff.com. Mm-hmm. And he and another buddy of ours, Mark Tavares, had we're going to have zombie president bumper stickers and t-shirts. Mm-hmm. Zombie Reagan, zombie Kennedy, there's another zombie. And it was better undead than a Democrat, or better undead than a Republican, or better undead than a Democrat. So I've actually got a Reagan zombie bumper sticker in my office.
Okay.
I know that goes nowhere.
I'm going to do that for a while.
You had a point in there somewhere.
So my point is,
I'm not sure we're hitting it.
Reagan is where
I'm not feeling good about this.
I think we're doing great.
Okay. So what's in that?
This goes back to Reagan in the 1980s.
Right.
Announcing that the scariest words in the English language are, I'm from the government, I'm here to help.
Right.
All right, that's where, and this is kind of the fracturing the New Deal order, but that is the time period where the government, the people running the government, decided that it's good political communication to tell everyone never trust the government. Right. And that has been the project of their party ever since. We had decades and decades of Democrats not quite saying it, but like approximately saying it. And if you spend decades and decades telling the public the government can do nothing right, the government can only screw things up, then the problem is there's a lot of stuff we actually need the government for. Right. And then people people will eventually believe you. Right. And that, we're now sort of in the aftermath of that. We have decades and decades of them saying, the government shouldn't raise taxes and spend it on public services. And let's just emaciate FEMA and the CDC and everything else. And then we end up in a situation where it's like, all of the things that we need to work well don't work at all. Right. And it makes it seem like, I guess Reagan was right. But no, that was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like that was a project with an an outcome we could see coming, and we are now left with it, and we're stuck with it.
Republican messaging for decades has been government bad.
Yeah.
Democratic messaging has been trust us, we're smarter than you.
Yeah.
Which is also terrible messaging.
Yeah.
One of our colleagues, Ethan Porter, has done a fair amount of research on this that finds elite rhetoric matters, right? If you keep telling people that everything's terrible, you can't trust the news media, you can't trust that station, people decrease trust in media. If you say you can't trust Democratic politicians, people decrease trust in politicians. Like our elites have been eroding trust for decades.
Yeah.
Also bad. Not as bad as Hantavirus, potentially. I don't know. I might be moving that scale.
So are you with me on it's zombie Reagan's fault?
I think it runs deeper than that. It's not just zombie Reagan. We've always had people have never really trusted government. Hamilton in Federalist One writes about the folly of ridiculous.
That's the rapper, right?
No, that's the song and dance man who was on Broadway.
I want to note that got one laugh. Got one laugh.
From the person whose grade you can't even change. Our producer laughed at that.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a good joke. That was the test.
Yeah.
I take back some of my snark. But we've never trusted government, right? I mean, Mark Twain said something like the only truly criminal class are politicians. Like we've always had a distrust, but it's turned more recently into more cynicism. And I blame a lot of it. I blame on elected officials and candidates, right? First guy I worked for, a guy named Sam Coppersmith from Arizona, I wrote some piece for that was those people in Washington just don't get it, blah, blah, blah. And he edited it, sent it back as you can't burn down the house and expect to occupy it, right? We've had generations of Democratic and Republican politicians saying, you can't trust Washington, send me to Washington. They get to Washington and it turns out nobody trusts them because they just said, don't trust me. Send me to Washington. We've spent now 10 minutes talking about how bad everything is with no news of the day beyond how scared you are of the next pandemic. Can we talk about the Voting Rights Act?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I want to make it worse.
Why don't you kick us off on Voting Rights Act? What's the news and how you feeling?
So I feel terrible. 2 weeks ago when we last did this, I said, hey, what about VRA? When's it happening? And nobody knew. I don't know. The next day, Voting Rights Act. We had been drawing legislative districts in this country for a while that made sure there was minority representation, right? That it wasn't diluting largely black populations so there'd never be a district that represented a set of views that reflected a lot of the African Americans in this country. The Supreme Court just overturned that. Roberts' career has been devoted to undermining the VRA. We've also then had the courts strike down new districting lines in Virginia. So the VRA is happening at the same time as the legislative redistricting battles in Texas, California, Virginia, and elsewhere. You had a handful of Republican elected officials in Indiana who told Trump, no, we're not going to monkey with it, lose their primaries, right? So actually standing up for a good process is politically damaging to a bunch of candidates.
Yep.
And it's only, Monday at 12:21 p.m.
Let me add one more in, too.
Oh, good.
Which is you followed Louisiana?
Louisiana.
So Louisiana, as soon as the court made that decision, said, great, we want to redraw the maps for this election cycle. This is, even though if I remember right, Texas had some maps ruled unconstitutional. Right. And then the Supreme Court was like, yeah, but it's like a year till the election, so you can't change them. That would be too close to the election to do it. Louisiana, as soon as this came down, said they already had their primary elections going. And they were like, all right, we're going to pause voting has begun. We're going to pause that so we can redraw the maps so that we can net some extra seats, right? So we are now fully in the territory of, in general, voters don't get to pick the elected officials. Elected officials get to pick the voters. That's been going on for a while with this sort of race where, since Republicans had declared war, Democrats in California, Virginia, other states said, and I guess if it's war, then we have to fight back. And then on top of this, Virginia, which they had a referendum. There was a big referendum where the voters said, yep, we're going to approve this map. And then the Virginia Supreme Court was like, no. Right. So we are in this spot where elected officials get to pick their voters if they're Republican. And if they're Democrat, we'll see. But this is, the center cannot hold here. I joked to you about this earlier. I'm starting to wonder in my head, which is going to be the first Republican state that after the election in November says, okay, now that the votes have occurred, we need to get to redraw the maps to fit the votes so that we win. That's insane, but 50-50 shot that'll happen.
I think, yeah. I mean, it sounds ridiculous on its face, but we're also about to elect a bunch of governors who denied the election of 2020. Yeah. You've got a bunch of conspiracy theorists jumping in, which is all very bad. Yeah. Right. there's another level down that I think complicates it in ways that people aren't thinking about. Like even that smaller slice of us who care about this stuff, there's even a smaller slice. Again, John Sides in his Good Authority newsletter, subscribe, pointed out a new paper that looked at local impacts of legislative redistricting, right? So a lot of cities, counties, things like that had been at-large seats, which is really great if you're in the majority population, but disenfranchises neighborhoods, right? So we've gone to district representation, where this neighborhood with a special set of needs, where the population. So the result is many more black and brown legislators, which then means poor parts of the city or the county get better services because you have people elected from those areas, right? So it's just more fair, more democratic. If we're undoing the VRA, or we've undone the VRA, if we're redrawing lines to make sure the majority population gets what it wants all the time, what happens in the local races? Do we go back to at-large? And if so, do we re-disenfranchise entire neighborhoods, largely poor, mostly black and brown?
Yeah.
Like this is kind of a knock-on effect, which is going to have disastrous effects where most of us feel politics, which is locally, right? It's garbage pickup, it's roads, it's schools, it's, electricity, things like that.
So there's speed running Jim Crow.
Yep.
We can both see this is bad, and everybody following the news knows this is bad. What do you do about it?
I think that's all the time we have, Dave. We think that's all the time we. I don't know.
Come on.
So I think
you got an idea.
I have an idea. I think. So people want things to work, right? This has been sort of a running theme for the entire time we've been doing this. The other thing is they hate cheaters. Like voters don't. People know that politicians are corrupt in part because they thought, well, if I had that kind of power, that access to stuff, I might also be a little bit corrupt too. Yeah. People recognize people are people. But they don't like cheaters, especially if the people who cheat are clearly benefiting from it, right? So the people in power are cheating, and Donald Trump is building a $1 billion ballroom and repainting the reflecting pool blue. I'm waiting for the Bellagio fountains to come next, while gas is $5 a gallon.
Right.
So they cheated. They're getting, knockoff reboots of old school Atlantic City, while the rest of us can't afford to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So I think it's I think focusing on cheating is one way back in.
Cheating, corruption, both stand out to me. The other bit that stands out to me is, I think hardball is a good idea. Like if I was advising elected officials in Virginia right now, if I was advising Spanberger, I would say, take some action that basically says, sorry, the voters voted, we're doing it anyway. Like, we're just going to ignore the Supreme Court. And the counter argument that you usually hear from that is, oh, well, that's like, you're going too far. People won't like that. There will be blowback. The voters will hold you accountable. No, they won't. Right? Because again, people want stuff to work, and they don't pay a lot of attention. That actually creates some room as political actors to just be bold and make shit work. So if you're the Virginia Democratic Party, you should look at this and say, okay, like, we actually asked the voters and they said it's fine. Those voters don't want to hear the details of the Virginia State Supreme Court, nor are they going to follow it. So just make shit work. And in general, the Democratic Party, like, you need to be prepared to play hardball and fight hard, ignoring that this is going to end up being maybe awkward in the op-ed page of the Washington Post. Right. Because nobody's reading that op-ed page, and if people want stuff to work, and we're surrounded by cheaters and corruption, you can either be the direct answer to that, or you can be part of the problem to that.
That's weirdly one of the lessons from Trump, right? In 2016, all of us were saying, oh, this is crazy, nobody's going to get away with this. And Trump realized that, like, his voters don't care, right? And then as president, well, you're violating all these norms, which is bad, right? We should not be violating democratic norms. Democracy relies on a series of gentlemen's agreements. But Trump is like, what are you going to do? Yeah. Like, I'm going to do a thing. What are you going to he's painting the reflecting pool America blue or flag blue?
Like, the bottom of it is going to be blue.
A color, and I'm not kidding about the Bellagio fountains coming next.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, of course that's absurd, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right? So I think that we're in this weird conversation of how and when do you start rebuilding norms?
Right.
And Democrats have by and large been the normie party.
Right.
When do you say, okay, we have to engage the way the Republicans are engaging, but then how do you get back to a point of a virtuous cycle of normal rather than a death spiral of Gimmicks and Shenanigans.
Right.
The Death Spiral of Gimmicks and Shenanigans. That should be the name of the podcast. Death Spiral of
God.
Gimmicks and Shenanigans.
I actually think that should be
I'm gonna write that down.
I think that should be the title of your autobiography.
Death panel of
Death Spiral, not Death
Spiral.
Panel.
I worked on the Affordable Care Act. It just rolls off the tongue.
Yep. The other bit that stands out to me, and this is like a half thought because I don't know how this goes, but I think we need to start taking it seriously. I think we are well past the time of normie politics and returning to standard norms. One thing that I think about a lot is if Democrats win in 2026 and then win in 2028, how is that going to go? And the thing that stands out right away is like if Democrats win in 2028, a thing that they are going to have to focus on here, like one thing is rebuilding all the agencies that were gutted and destroyed, right? Like the FBI is only going to be full of people who were personal friends of Kash Patel by 2028. The second you take office, you got to fire them and bring back the actual professionals because the FBI can't just be like drinking buddies of Kash Patel. Like you can't. Same for every other agency, right? Department of State, that's going to have to get rebuilt, and that takes time. That's going to take over a year to go through that process since people will come up with courts. You are also at the same time going to need to do something about the Supreme Court and all the lower courts that by that point are going to be like half Trump judges. You are also going to have to do something about our role in the world. You're going to have to sign us back up for the Paris Accord. Like all these things are going to happen at once while you were given the mission from voters of please fix stuff while we don't pay attention and hope it's fixed pretty soon. If you just come in and say like, all right, we're going to do normie politics and do normie things that look good on the Sunday shows and the op-ed pages, you will get creamed because all of that work takes too long and pretty quickly people will say like, how are we doing? So I think we need to take seriously that the damage is actually too extreme for the normal cycle of win the elections and then do something with that power. Like I'm not ready to say like, let's call for a constitutional convention because I can't see how that goes. I also can't see how any of this works without real democratic renewal that rethinks the entire electoral system. Like I don't think that these things work unless we redo or get rid of the Senate. I don't like gerrymandering unless we like our two options on gerrymandering are basically wait for 2 Supreme Court justices to die while Democrats control the Senate and the presidency. So that's like 20, 30 years out probably, plus some luck. Or you redo the Constitution and say, we're doing multi-member districts now. And one of those is not more absurd than the other. Like both of those are absurd options, but one waits 2 or 3 decades. So like my kids will be my age basically by the time it's going to come up. And the other says, okay, I guess we got to think about democratic renewal on a faster timescale, not in the next 2 years, but maybe in the next 10 years. Like I'm starting to think those sort of, I don't know how it goes, but we need to consider thoughts. Are you?
I'm not there yet. I see the logic of it, and you and I talked about this before. But before we get there, there's the, as you said, if Democrats take the House back, and I think even with the weird seats, they probably will. House will certainly, or the Senate will certainly be closer. And if a Democrat gets elected president, or somebody not named Donald Trump is elected president in 2028, I think a couple things can happen at once. One is I think Democrats can say, first, voters I think like experts to run things. I want to be able to trust the experts, but like just fix it. Like I want, like you said, I want public health experts dealing with pandemics. I want disaster relief experts dealing with FEMA. Like I think Democrats can say, look, we're just going to rehire a bunch of experts, right? Trump brought in a bunch of his cronies, and we're just getting rid of the cronies, and we're bringing back some experts. And it's going to take time, and it's boring. We'll keep you updated. In the meantime, here are like 3 or 4 or 5 things we can do, right? Low-hanging fruit. You talked earlier, when we were talking earlier about Mamdani just filling potholes. Yeah. Like fill the potholes. And that's really hard to do as president, right? Yeah. New York is big and it's complicated, but it's much smaller than the U.S. And I remember, I think it was the Obama administration ran into a challenge of this with infrastructure investment. Like just the president said, give me a list of things I can fund tomorrow that we can just start rebuilding. And that list doesn't exist because there's permitting, environmental controls, all sorts of things, which makes sense. But if Democrats can say, here are 2 or 3 or 4 things that are making stuff measurably better while we work on the back end. But that requires Democrats to talk and act like people who are paying attention to what people actually think and care about, and do it in a way that even if it's not working, you can say, look, I get it. This this is a beast. Here's what we're doing to do it. In the meantime, I'm going to be out in front of your house shoveling your walk. I mean, metaphorically, I'm not sure I want the president shoveling somebody's walk.
It would be pretty funny if we got senators to shovel people's walks, because given their ages, that would lead to some really quick Senate turnover.
That would be. Although, I mean, Fetterman's a buff. Fetterman's buff, and Plattner, he's going to be elected to the Senate from Maine.
I am not prepared to have a Plattner conversation in public right now.
But Plattner is, well, to be continued, because Plattner is one of these Democrats who's talking like a person from where he is.
He is doing that, and it says to me many things about Maine that I am not ready to finish thinking about. I'm a little scared of that state now. I'm just saying.
It's a lovely state. But he's like a real person doing real things in a real place.
Yes. Before we go there, there's another direction I want to go, which is related to this, which is along with the government not working, the economy also really doesn't work.
Yeah, no kidding. We've got a bunch of people who are about to graduate into it who are studying politics and journalism.
That's why they're hanging out here. Always insult the audience. Rule number one. So the news, I mentioned this to you earlier, but the news that has been driving me a little crazy most recently, Elon Musk, there was just a settlement between Elon Musk and the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. Right. And the basic story here, when Elon bought Twitter, there was some paperwork he had to file. Specifically, once you have acquired more than 10% of the shares in a publicly traded company, you, a rich person, need to say, hey, I'm acquiring lots of shares, so that shareholders will be aware of that, because that's going to affect the stock price. And it's in your rich person's interest to hide that as long as you can, so you can buy the shares very quietly. Elon didn't file the paperwork for an extra 11 days. There was a basic calculation that showed that saved him about $150 million by holding off on the paperwork. The SEC, as soon as that went through, said, oh, you didn't file that and it cost you that. We're going to do an investigation, but obviously we're going to fine you. And then, because everything takes too long, that dragged on for a couple of years. And in the meantime, Elon Musk decided, I'm going to spend $300 million trying to get Donald Trump elected president. The result of that is that the SEC just agreed to a settlement on the $150 million that he didn't have to, that he saved himself, for $1.5 million. So basically he stole $150 million effectively from people who were shareholders in Twitter. And then he just went and bought the government, which means that now he only has to pay 1% of what he stole away. And what I want to point out is every other rich person looks at this and says, okay, so in the future, I'm just not going to file that paper. It's now actually, the SEC lowered it from 10 days to 5 days. So 10 days is too long. If you're going to acquire a bunch of shares in a company, right now, the guy who runs GameStop is trying to buy eBay, which is weird because eBay is much larger than GameStop and GameStop is just a meme stock. But if you're that guy, just don't announce it. Buy all the shares on the cheap for as long as you can. And when the government says, hey, you broke the law, just buy the government, because apparently that's now a thing you can do. And this is, part of a phenomenon that's going on right now, that our economy, setting aside the AI of it all, our economy is just weird gambles that all benefit the house, and the house is a handful of rich people. That's another way that the center cannot hold. We're going to have to do something about wealth inequality, particularly when it is combined with the Supreme Court deciding if you're rich, you can just buy elections. Because right now we do have elected officials who aren't going to stand up to crypto or AI or Polymarket, just because they look at it and say, oh, well, those companies are such big business with concentrated wealth that they're going to spend $500 million, $1 billion to unseat me. Maybe I'll find something else to worry about. But that's how the economy just gets more and more rotten, because it's a small number of people just following their economic consent. This is just so dumb. If you're going to break the law and get found out doing it for $150 million, the fine needs to be more than $150 million. Otherwise, everyone will just do that.
The Ford Pinto example from back in the day. A couple of things strike me.
You got to explain that, because nobody in our audience knows that example.
They have Google.
You now need to Google the Ford Pinto example.
These are called the crash and burn. Things occur to me. First of all, the lesson from both the political side, from Trump, from whether or not Virginia should simply ignore the fact that their maps are being overturned, from GameStop, from Elon Musk. do things there will be no consequences, or at least test to see whether or not there'll be consequences. Because if there aren't consequences, you may as well do whatever you're going to do. If there aren't no consequences, then democracy falls apart, the economic system falls apart, which is to say we are in a death spiral of gimmicks and shenanigans.
Which is now you're just selling your autobiography in advance, huh?
Yes. Yes. Pre-sales make the book. Pre-sales make the book.
Love it.
I think so. As we head into a 2-week break of more death spiraling, are you sticking with? Are you still at a 5 on Hantavirus? Do you want how you feel in general?
I mean, what I would say, let's revisit our numbers because in 2 weeks, either there will be more cases, and I'm going to be very worried,
right?
Or there won't be.
And you'll be very worried about something else.
Yeah, like my nerves right now are because I don't trust the CDC has this shit covered at all, which means that I don't know if it's a non-problem or a problem. Time will tell. So like, we'll know more. Like also, 2 weeks from now, my guess is we'll still be at war with Iran, pretending that we're not. And gas, if I stop by the gas station, it'll be like 30 cents more per gallon. That stuff will just keep on going in the background too, because government does stuff that matters. And when you put idiots in charge and fire everybody else, everything just slowly breaks down until it breaks it down all at once.
So like, it's almost as if we're in a death spiral of gimmicks and shenanigans.
But like Hantavirus, like there is sort of like a Schrodinger's cat thing with Hantavirus of like, either it's getting really bad right now, or it's not, but I have no way of knowing because I know that the people who are supposed to be following this have no clue what they're doing.
So you're worried. Okay, so you're not sure how worried to be worried about that. So you're pretty worried about that because you're not sure about how worried you should be.
I'm medium worried because there's other things that I know more about that I'm more worried about because I'm more worried about.
So it's a worrying time.
I mean, I am a worrier. Yeah.
We're going to come back in 2 weeks and it'll be fixed.
Yeah. No, it won't.
Yes, it
what?
If it is, we have to find something new to talk about. Thank you as always for tuning in to Office Hours with Karpf and Loge. See you in a couple of weeks.
This is our sunny summer session. Check back in 2 weeks when we'll have more jokes and things that make you feel good about the state of society. Yeah. Do you think we'll have any good news to share or like good news to like talk about during the summer?
Arsenal's going to win the title.
Okay. Oh, and then also I forgot, that's probably the most important news. The Washington Wizards have the #1 pick in the NBA draft. Believe, folks. Believe.
See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.